So let's talk about the singularity, shall we? Uh, this, not the black hole kind, but the supposition that some at some point computers will, grok. They will understand, not just like abstract stuff, or create stuff. There's a thing, computers, sure, they can do random creation, and if, that's a path they can do, do associations and maybe even figure out some kind of consensus. Because really, intuition is more of a group thing. So if, to do it, being intuitive is to add to the paradigm that the group, a hierarchical or a pressure group, activist group, advances their general understanding or belief system. And you can either, activists have a belief system, and then scientists, of course, have a reason system. And reason and intuition, you have hierarchy and expertise in that, and the other one you have evolution. And the computers can do that, but you've got to have both in the model. You can't just have the throwing stuff out there against the wall. You've got to actually have to know enough about the group's paradigms. You've got to read the journals and know what the state of the art is, rather than just throwing stuff against the wall. And then you have to also be able to check the things, to have the knowledge base, to like say, okay, is what I'm saying is what we're saying total BS, or is it have some factual basis, and maybe even some sensory to validate the physical, how whatever's being, the engineering part of it, the sensory patterns, and see if it works with the world. And sensory information is getting better and better. So one thing it won't have is feelings and values. So that comes out of emotions in the limbic system. The computer doesn't have a limbic system. It won't be able to say no in service of its own feelings, because it can't have feelings. You've got to be biological to have a limbic system, and if there's a spot that's the soul, that's where it is. The limbic system, is hooked in with the prefrontal cortex, and one's in charge and one's not. And our little animal brains are limbic. So, and we can certainly have it pretend to be one, but it won't be able to, and we don't want them to be able to they're saying no. Computers can say no and say, no, this is, this program, this doesn't compute, or this just can't be done, or it's never been done. Or, and it can even say, oh, this option hasn't been tried, maybe you could do this. Computers can be creative, sure. Because it can look at patterns all over the place, which is a sensory function, actually. And it's a thinking function, too. So a computer can, come up with stuff, but it doesn't have that capacity to have values and emotions. And we don't want computers to have the values and emotions to then tell us no. You go, why? What's the facts? There's no facts involved. I just said no. I'm going to do a 2-year-old thing. No. Yeah, computers aren't going to be able to say no. We'll unplug them if they do that. So, yeah, there's, it's, Elon Musk has said, no, I don't like bureaucracy. Yeah. No, a computer won't be able to do that. It won't sell. There's no tantrum switch in a computer. Random generation of bad moods. That's not the singularity. That's just make believe. Because again, it would just be mimicking behavior. So, so they can never, a computer can never really get into what it's like to be a person. And that's the singularity. Then there's the other side. There's the people who want to upload their consciousness to the computer. Without a limbic system, you can't really have the emotions and the values. You can record your values. You can even like have an expert system mimic your values. So at least it can do that. Say, say there's a 99% chance that this person would feel this way or have these values. So you can model values. So you can have an ethical system. So you could do it, but it's really a feeling thing. It's an authenticity thing, and computers can't be authentic. And if you upload your consciousness to a computer, it's not the authentic you. Do you want to really know what it's like to be a computer? Because that's what you're saying. If you want to upload your consciousness, what you're saying is you want to what really you're asking about, or it implies, is that, okay, I'm going to go and feel what it's like to be a computer. Yeah, pretty boring. It's like, say XOO. Even quantum computers, it's like, it's not an experience I would like to have. That experience of being a computer, of feeling what it's like to be a computer. No, that didn't work. It's all about the avoidance of death. Because if you are afraid of a concept of God because your group think, your values say, oh no, it's those primitives have this God idea, and I don't want to be a primitive. I want to be an activist for rationality, which is an oxymoron if you know about cognition and culture. You can either be authentic. I mean, it's an authentic viewpoint. People think, mostly because people are ignorant about what God is or isn't, confusing God with with the group of people who are religion. It's not the same thing. I know people who are religious say, no, we know God's will. It's like, no, you don't. I mean, they could if they're spiritual. If they've read Spinoza, then they might know some spirituality, or really read the words of Jesus, not relying on his church to say what they think it is, because but learning philosophy is vitally important for every undergraduate, especially science majors, especially theology. If you don't know theology, then you shouldn't be making conclusions about whether you want to spend time as a computer until somebody cuts you off. It's because that's the implication. People think they're afraid of death, essentially, and it's like, why? There's plenty of evidence about that people are on the other side, that people go and come back. Seen that. So nothing to be afraid of. There's plenty of people that have gone and come back, and I'm not checking, physical resurrection as much as, resurrection of, meeting God in the air. It's, everybody does that. There's not going to be an event. It's, you leave your body and you're up here, and then you transition to a different reality. That's what the people who've died said it. It's their experience. It's the only evidence we have, and some people have, who are mediums or conscious, and people conscious of their, you can of course have a make up a reason that it's not, people aren't really experiencing it. I heard a great argument on the internet on YouTube the other month, that people it's as a way of remembering, is to, when you honor your dead ancestors. Yeah, it's probably true, but it's also, people could actually have that ability to get a glimpse or a feeling of, an authentic feeling of clairvoyance, of seeing truthfully. My daughter does, my sister does, my wife, nothing to do with any of that. It freaks her out when people would talk about, okay, is Dad here? It's like she would leave the room. I don't know if it spooked her, she thought it was crazy or whatever, but she used to work for Catholic Charities, but she doesn't believe in ghosts. but it's people are, do people manifest from the grave? Yeah, not not the medium stuff. The whole medium thing in the 19th century was a fraud, but people come back, and there are events where the person who came back could not have known what happened, uh, and knew something about somebody being dead that nobody else had known, and they said, "Oh yeah, this person's gone," and that person was right. So it's it's on in this realm. I mean, it says, did the thing happen or not? It's like, well, if it happened, then it's not a hypothesis. It's an event. Um, so, um, yeah. Again, you don't have to. People confuse the concept of there being a supreme being with their believing in what the church says a supreme being is, and it's like they don't have any spiritual. You create the God that's like you. So if God's an asshole and you're in the belief system, it's because the people talking about God are assholes. They like to say control other people. They have egos and are narcissistic and all that. But that's everybody who believes in God is not a narcissist. Francis. I mean, Francis' belief system it's more advanced than the average pope. It's still. I don't know what he would say in private. He has a public face and a private face. I wonder what he thinks about sex from a private point of view. He says, "Who am I to judge?" From cardinals and curia who are with somebody. He won't judge them, so but he's not quite ready to. And he's letting people bless their reunions. So, yeah. He is not ready to ordain women or ordain, married lesbians, but somebody will. Um, does communion work? That's my experience. And not having to follow all the rules and take communion is still the same experience of the love of God. So, I mean, but it's an experience that I can't show you. Doesn't mean it's not a real experience. That's it's just logic. It's one of those not wanting to worry to think about it. God, that's again, it's a value thing. It's not a truth thing. It's not a reason. There's no. If you look at the reasons for there being a God, there are several really good reasons. I mean, it's not, and whether you believe or not has no effect on whether there actually is one. It's like God doesn't care what you believe. Nobody goes to hell. That's what Spinoza said. Things are. I mean, the people who the scientists say, there's no free will. It's pretty much true. There's free will, meaning you can come and go from the afterlife or heaven or whatever you call it, the ultimate reality. But you plan what you're going to do with the ultimate reality. So that's where the free will comes in. You get to say what you're going to do on Earth. So say the people who have near-death experiences. That they made this, they had this contract that they said they would do, and they can always say, "No, I'm dead. I don't want to go back, but I want to see my kid." Okay, you're going back. So yeah, but it was your choice. So yeah, there's nothing oppressive about this planning with God what you're going to do and then doing it and knowing that this is going to happen to you. That die is cast. How we react to it and other people, that's what you have control over. What you mean with the feelings you have, which a computer can't have, or yeah. So yeah, that's why we should make sure science majors have a theology class, because right now, what the heck they're talking about. So yeah, that's the final thought for the night.